Plug it back in on the power.
So once you sync and then power cycle both base stations after the sync.
That's what I would recommend, yeah.
Okay.
And that also includes, again, unplugging or plugging in a transceiver. Now, if you can't do it, chances are it'll be fine. But I have seen on occasion where somebody plugged in a new transceiver because they're like, I just need to extend my range, and then all of a sudden things are just not roaming right.
So best practice is power cycle.
Yeah.
And that is applicable to whether or not I have E1 and they have E1, or if I have E1 and they have IPT.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yep. IPTs do better on the sync because they're using PTP and they're talking to a clock. But it's still recommended that you do a reset of the system if you do a lot of unplugging and plugging in of transceivers.
Power cycle both at the same time, it doesn't matter, they just need to go through a cycle.
They just need to go through a cycle, and yeah. Okay. Any other questions from lunch? Yeah.
Maybe I missed this, but IPT will work on FreeSpeak 2?
Not on the base station, no. Just the Arcadia or Eclipse. FreeSpeak 2 base is E1 only.
Or FreeSpeak Edge.
Or FreeSpeak Edge base, yes. Which, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, delete this out of your video. Don't buy the FreeSpeak Edge base. It's an Arcadia with less features.
So an Arcadia can use a 5 GHz IPC?
Yes. We're going to dig into that and those capabilities.
But it is two separate antennas. There's a 1.9 IPC and a 5 GHz.
Correct. It's got a completely different radio.
Make a use case or workflow where it makes sense
Yeah.
to use a FreeSpeak Edge with IP 1.9 IP. So we do sell it occasionally.
All right. So let's talk about Arcadia. So let's go back to the beginning. 1968, we have Encore. Then we have HelixNet. Then we got wireless. We've got all these different base stations. You got upwards of 3 things in the rack. And then we said, screw it, let's merge it all together. And that's where Arcadia comes from. So what is it? You could do up to 10 E1 transceivers, just like the FreeSpeak 2 base. By the way, I should note, the things listed in orange are new with Rev 3. It's very important to note that. Most of you who have Arcadia are probably still on Rev 2. I would highly recommend you go to our website and you download Rev 3. It's free of charge. You just have to put in your email because we want to get our marketing emails to you. Once you get your email, they'll send you a link, and then you can download that and install Rev 3. So 10 E1 transceivers for 1.9 or 2.4 gigahertz, or up to 32 of these IP transceivers. And it can be a mixture of 1.9 and 5 gigahertz. 32 transceivers. That's a pretty impressive system as far as I'm concerned. You can also do up to 64 wireless belt packs, also a combination of 1.9 and 5 gigahertz. So let's say you get out to a system. We've run into this with New Year's Eve. They want 50 belt packs, and then the next day they go, oh my gosh, I have one guy that needs to get on. Do you have one more belt pack? I'm sorry, I've reached my limit. I can only do 50 1.9. But with Arcadia, if I have 5 gigahertz, I can add on a few more to get up to the 64 total wireless. So we can deploy a 5 gigahertz transceiver or 2 within that specific area for that one Yahoo that needs his belt pack. Deploy 5 gigahertz and you're in business. All over the same IP network. Pretty simple. As far as HelixNet goes, it's still only 24 channels. 24 channels meaning I can only, from my belt pack, even though it's only 2 key sets, I can go and pick from 24 of the channels within the entire system. But the cool thing is we've expanded the endpoints to 128 belt packs. It's a significant increase. In fact, I don't even think the HelixNet main station can do that many. It still has 64 ports of Dante. It comes standard with Dante already. Brooklyn chip is already installed. It's got 8 ports of 4-wire with port number 8 specifically set up already for stage announce and program. That's why we ship this cable. So on the HelixNet and FreeSpeak 2 base stations, we have those XLRs in and out. Well, we couldn't fit those on here. So we opted to just ship this cable with it. That's why that is set up that way. It's got 4 ports of 2-wire, go with your legacy stuff. And then the newest and greatest, which is a really good thing for you guys, is the IV Directs. You can do up to 16 trunks, as I like to call it, or 16 channels of IV Directs. So what does that mean? I could take a second Arcadia, and if it's on the same IP network, trunk audio back and forth, up to 16 channels. I could take it to the LQ, which means now I've got SIP coming into the Arcadia, Agent IC. I could take the Arcadia to the cloud. A lot of capabilities. These numbers are going to continue to increase. The roadmap for the Arcadia is a very, very long roadmap. In fact, if you open that guy up, trust me, our manufacturers down in San Diego, I don't know if you guys knew it, but we do all of our manufacturing in the United States still. Crazy that it's in San Diego County, one of the most expensive places in the world. But the cool thing about that is we have complete control over our quality. So from my perspective, that's pretty awesome. Anyway, they hate building the Arcadia because it's literally got 2 massive boards inside of it, and every board is populated to the max. It is a very, very powerful computer inside of there, and we're barely knocking on the ceiling. So it's got a long roadmap, and these numbers just keep increasing. We're going to add IFBs. We're going to add Agent IC directly. This will eventually go straight to the cloud. Just think big picture. Oh, panels. So Eclipse right now is the only thing that can allow you to do V32 or 24 channel panels. Panels will go directly to this. I think that's going to be on the next Rev 4 release. So that's why I'm telling you, even though the FreeSpeak Edge Base is a cool little system, but get the Arcadia. The Edge Base is only going to be so limited in how far it goes. And by the way, so you may be asking what's the difference between them and why? The Edge Base is mostly designed to be a FreeSpeak 2 base station replacement for low budgets. Think of small theaters, high school theaters. They just don't have the money to buy a big Arcadia.
How, when you start controlling panels, like as opposed to like the Eclipse where you have the MDX cards, how are they going to do it on the Arcadia?
It'll be the same process, either IVC, 4-wire.
Okay.
You can still do 4-wire, or you can do ASX7.
You have 8 ports. Okay. And that makes sense.
We'll support all the current flows that you have in the panels.
And are the FreeSpeak 2 and like the transceivers, are they licensed like you do on the Eclipse, or does it automatically include that?
So
like when you get the IPA card and you get like a bank of 16, and like you have to buy the Dante card. Does it come with that already?
So Arcadia is licensed base as far as ports go, and I'm going to talk about that next, or pretty soon here. Any other questions? Yep.
Talking about the panel capability for this product, we're looking at an upgrade starting in January, and we have Eclipse right now in the bid. And if we needed to value engineer down to something like that, by January, it's not going to support panels, right?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
If you want, I would recommend you chat with Mike about that, and we can get you a better idea on the roadmap.
Okay.
Mike, you got that?
I was reading it.
And you took in a phone call? Rude. So he's looking at speccing an Eclipse frame because they want panels, or you've got one now, but you might be upgrading to do panels,
We have
or
one in one facility with panels. We're upgrading another facility in town that's Adam, and so we're moving in.
okay. So you're going from RTS to ClearCom on that.
On that one, yeah.
So he's just asking, hey, they're planning for an Eclipse. Should we wait and do Arcadia since it might support panels? But I don't know the roadmap or the timeline. So we just need to make sure he's going to reach out, and
IFBs are needed and stuff.
IFBs are coming into it, but I don't know when that's happening. IFBs are more complicated than you might think.
It's not a requirement for us.
Okay. But panels is definitely, I think it's next on the list. I just haven't gotten any updates on the roadmaps for a while,
But
so.
I'm correct in my assumption that this would be a cheaper product than
Not necessarily. It depends.
99.
I can't answer that.
Depends on the next slide.
This is true, yeah, right.
Nice.
All right, so looking at the actual base station, if you just go from left to right on the front, it is a user station. So you do have an XLR4. I think you could do an X5 or an X7. The XLR7 is for contact closure input from like a push to talk button. It does have a 1/4-inch microphone. For those of you that have HelixNet now, at least that main station, it's a 3-pin XLR that you twist in. We're trying to get away from that. Those break easily. There's a little screw inside of it in the manufacturing process that holds that XLR in, and it keeps breaking. So we've decided we're going to go back to the Bob Barker microphone, and that's the 1/4-inch spin in. So that's a little bit nicer. The only way you're going to break that is if some jackwagon really just takes a hammer to it or sits on it. It does have a USB-A, that's to register your belt packs if needed. I think you can charge your cell phone if needed. It does have 2 power supplies, one internal, one external. 4 key sets that you can change if need. But you'll notice on the front, it's touchscreen now. The good news is, because I was worried about this, you could touch almost anywhere on a key set and it'll activate it. Because we all do our stuff by touch now. You know, your belt pack, you know which one is A and B. Panels is the same way. It's kind of like playing the piano. You kind of get to know where things are. You don't have to look at it. Well, luckily, this works anywhere on the screen. There is a pin reset. Almost all of our panels have a teeny tiny little pin reset that you could take a paper clip to. So you can't, you put these things in a rack. Sometimes you just can't get to the power. And I'm sorry, we're not perfect. Things will fail. I have this saying, you guys are welcome to use this next time you're having a review. If I were perfect, you could not afford me. Well, we're not perfect, so things are going to fail. You need a pin reset. So again, remember that for your next review with your boss. It works for me all the time. It does have a speaker and a master control for the main volume. And then on the back, you got your internal and external power supply. We do like to keep the external one set up because there are times when you need to take something out of the building and it needs to be on DC power. And so we do have the ability for you just to have that pin out and take it directly to a battery. I usually don't recommend trying it because, as they say, our stuff runs off of smoke. You let the smoke out, it doesn't work anymore. So be careful. Get that voltage wrong and you're having a bad day. GPIOs, so you can take 2 8 radios directly to the back of that guy. I think it's got, oh yeah, it does say it right there. So in total, 4 GPIOs and 2 GPIs. Chris, you could use this then to start the coffee maker with a belt pack if you wanted to, so you guys are good to go. 4 2 wires. You can power belt packs locally from this. Still, you're limited to about 8 to 10. We can't power 40, 50, 60 belt packs like a standard Encore power supply, but it will take the juice from an external power supply, and it will do RTS mode. Keep that in mind. 8 4-wire ports, and then this center section, or the one on the right, this whole area is just for E1. It's got your sync in and out. It's got your antenna connection or to the splitter, and it's also got an SFP cage to do the splitter. So one thing to keep in mind with splitters, for those of you who use these, you can actually take from there RJ45 to a first splitter and then extend that splitter to a second splitter using fiber. And then you could put like 3 transceivers on the first one and the final 2 on the second one. That allows you to really spread out those transceivers when you're in a very, very large facility. Just keep in mind, and go check out the solution finder, you have to change the pins. There's little dip switches on the bottom of that splitter that you have to switch in order to tell it that the first 3 are here and the last 2 are here. So just check that out on the solution finder. Let me know later if you need that. And then finally, and this is probably the most important part of this product, 4 LAN ports. They are all individual LAN ports, NIC cards. 2 of them are RJ45, 2 of them are SFP for fiber. And we now have on our parts list a SFP to RJ45 converter if you prefer just to do everything copper. Question is, why would we split that out? Well, it comes down to the fact that a lot of customers want Dante, they want internet, and they want admin stuff, and they want HelixNet. Well, as we're going to talk about later in networking, you need to split out that traffic. You need IPTs to be on one VLAN network, Dante on a completely separate thing if possible. You want admin on this network, so you could split out all this traffic as you see fit. Or you could put it all together, except Dante. We don't allow you to put Dante on with our IPTs. Any questions so far on the hardware? Yep.
In the UI, it's been probably years since I've been in Arcadia. You tell it which LAN port uses which function. Change it.
In fact, we're going to work on that today when we do our demo. In fact, you might be my Vanna White later, so I'll let you try it out. Unless you're nervous in front of a crowd. You don't seem like it. As far as features go, I think I've kind of covered this. Yeah, high density 1RU, it's got Dante. I'm going to pass this by because you've already kind of gotten the idea. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. The key features, again, for numbers, 64 wireless bell packs, 32 IP transceivers, 10 E1 transceivers. That will not change ever. Plenty of wired endpoints and a ton of interfaces. You have a massive system in a 1RU device. It's pretty impressive from my perspective anyway.
Can you do 64 FreeSpeak 2 bell packs, or it has to be a mix of FreeSpeak 2 and FreeSpeak Edge?
You would have to do a mix. Now,
50 FreeSpeak 2?
50 is the max in an RF space. You don't have any time slots left over after you get to the 51st. So it's just an RF problem at that point.
Got it.
Any other questions? Unless we do what he said, and we do what's called a special temporary authorization, STA. I think that's what it is, with the FCC.
Okay.
With those, we basically get permission from the FCC. Well, no, you get permission, not me. You get permission from the FCC and from whoever owns those other frequencies before or after. That could be T-Mobile, Verizon, whoever. You get permission from both of those entities. We can change the region on that transceiver to, it could be Europe, it could be whatever, which then doubles to 20 time slots. But you have to get that permission, and once you do, you then sign an agreement with me that says, I promise that I won't be using this outside of this special event, because with that temporary authorization, it's actually for a literal address for a time frame. And if you take it out of there and the FCC finds out, then you're the one dealing with the fees, not me. I don't think it's jail time, but it's a lot of money. Come on. I'm going to pass by that because we already kind of covered it. So let's talk about some of the workflows within Arcadia. There's 3 of them, generally speaking. I know a lot of you know this, but I'm going to cover it anyway because it's just a reminder. The first one is, well, it's PTP, but it's point-to-point. You can, with wireless bell packs, set up a key set for me to talk to this button or to this bell pack directly without anybody else listening in. That's point-to-point. Keep in mind, though, HelixNet does not have the ability to do point-to-points. It is channel or party line based only. So the point-to-points is only for FreeSpeak 2 bell packs, FreeSpeak Edge bell packs, or when we add the other panels, Agent IC, those will have point-to-points. The other one is party line or channels, and that's where I join the party. I can leave the party, I can stop listening, I can do whatever I want. But generally, a party line is meant for everybody just to come together and communicate. We all use that, generally speaking. But the last one that people get confused about on the system, and the FreeSpeak 2 base as well, is groups. What is a group? It's a one-to-many, but a forced listen. So if I set up a group, and I put all my wireless bell packs into that group, and let's just say it's all call. I go in and I press all call, you are forced to hear me. You have no choice, unless you get your headset off. Unlike party line, where I could go in and just tap the button maybe and stop listening. So one-to-many is very important. This is usually used for directors or the boss of the show. You definitely don't give it to the lighting guy.
The reply is point to point.
Yes, the reply also is point-to-point. So if I have a button for mic, and he doesn't not have a button for me. I'm the boss of the show, so I just need to talk to him. Maybe I'm the A1 and he's the A2. I have a button that goes to Mike directly. His reply key on his belt pack will show up with my name. And if he hits it, he talks back to me directly. Now there is one way you could listen in on a point-to-point conversation. It's called eavesdropping, and it's actually a setting within the role. That's usually reserved for the jackwagons who are an HR nightmare, and you need to catch them at the pass. So.
The other thing is the quantities of channels and groups. 100 channel box, 100 groups, correct?
Yes. So HelixNet main station is 24 channels or 24 party lines. This is up to 100. And I'm betting that's going to continue to tick up as well.
Yeah. And some applications that I've done with this is I partition it into simultaneous production. College sports, I'll take 25 channels and do the football stadium, 8 channels to do the basketball stadium, and another 5 channels for a fly pack system to do field games. And you can go through and have the productions working simultaneously in separate productions on the same system. So
Money savings right there, yeah. That's called Connect the Campus. That's a pretty big deal now with a lot of campuses now, universities, that have to do ESPN games where they don't want to spend an arm and a leg on multiple Arcadias. They'll put one.
Dante back to
Yep.
Bristol and all that stuff. And the other thing is they want to use the stadium for graduation. So one Saturday they go in, they get the whole thing set up and working for graduation. They save that as a preset. They go in, they use the stadium for other sports stuff. They come in the next Saturday, it's actually graduation. They recall that, and boom, it's back to the way it was.
The limitation on point-to-point configurations on the belt pack, unless the buttons, or
Say that one more time.
can you have multiple point-to-point capabilities between?
Oh, it just comes down to the amount of buttons, yeah. Which is where the FreeSpeak Edge belt pack replacement is going to be helpful, because that gives you up to 8 party lines or point-to-points, plus the reply key. So technically 9. More is better, yeah. You know, there was a time when I thought, why would anybody need more than 2 party lines? And the time has come. I also wondered why any show needs more than 25 belt packs. Well, guess what? The time has come. It's just, things are getting more and more complicated. As far as licenses go, the cool thing about the Arcadia is you can buy the most basic one. Is it 16 ports, Mike? Yeah, I think I ran out of space on this graphic. I couldn't add it. But you can buy the most basic Arcadia. Already has Dante, and just have 16 ports. Well, what's a port? A port is an endpoint. This is one port. You had 2 belt packs, it's 2 ports. That transceiver does not use a port. It's just a part of it. The endpoint is the port. So you can go and buy the most basic 16-port system to save money, and then maybe the next year you budget to increase that and get more ports. And all it is you send him some money, he gets a license from the factory in Carlsbad, and you're on your way. Just give me a few days to get you the license. That's the only thing that I ask. Don't call us on a Saturday. You can now do, and I should have mentioned, now up to 160 ports. It's a significant increase from the old system. So let's talk about licensed ports for a moment. First of all, Dante, right there in the middle. One Dante channel uses 1 port. So this comes with the Dante Brooklyn chip up to 64 channels. But that doesn't come out of the port count until you set it up. So 1 Dante port. So if you use all 64 channels of Dante, that is 64 ports out of the license. Again, FreeSpeak 2, 1 belt pack uses 1 port. You have 20 belt packs, that's 20 ports out of the whole license. But where things get a little weird, and it's going to take me a minute to explain this, is HelixNet. Using these belt packs. 1 HelixNet channel uses 1 port. So what does that mean? Here's how I can explain it. So, as an example, I have 24 HelixNet belt packs. I have 24 of these. And they have 2 talks. There's a talk and a listen, 2 of them. They're all using the same 2 channels, production audio. That's it. Well, that only uses 2 ports out of the entire system. But it's 24 HelixNet belt packs. Nope, they're all using the same 2 channels. It means it's 2 ports. That's because this is a party line system. It's not a point-to-point. Since it's a shared resource, it just uses 2 ports. However, if I go in and I have 24 HelixNet belt packs, but all of them need access to 24 different channels, then that uses 24 ports. So if I have production, audio, lighting, the list goes on. Once I get up to 24 different channels that I need to have access to from this belt pack, that means it's 24 ports. Does that make sense? Okay. I think I had to revise this section multiple times to explain it because it is a little confusing. The good news is,
On the website too.
it is on the website. Yeah, there's actually a calculator on our solution finder and on our website. So if you're sitting there going, oh, I need to figure out this system that I'm installing, you could sit there and say, I need however many belt packs, and it'll tell you what licenses you should get. At least it hits the easy button for you. Any questions on that so far? Yep.
So when you said that if you would like have a Dante channel, it would count as a port. Is that true for, can you use it as a both input and an output?
Yes. One Dante channel or one Dante port is in and out.
Okay. So it wouldn't be like if I wanted to have an input and then an output, that wouldn't be 2, that would just be 1.
Well, it depends on how you're routing it.
Okay.
If you want to kind of dedicate one Dante port or channel as an output and a different one as an input, then that's technically 2 ports.
Okay.
Some people like to keep it cleaner, and because maybe the input and output of that Dante channel is different, so they like to split it up. Yep.
So there's no, with the Arcadia, there's really no physical cards anymore, just all licenses.
All licenses.
Same box, just what serial number you put in it.
Exactly.
As far as the rental market goes, is it just kind of all over the place with what people have?
Yeah, I would say it does, yeah.
So you really have to ask, like, what are
Don't,
you?
we don't sell very many beyond 48 ports right now, even though it does all it. I mean, I think I've sold 1 larger than that, but the vast majority of the systems out there are 48 ports or less.
Copy that.
But I'd still ask, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? So Powerline, I mentioned earlier, we added Powerline. The product is called an HX2 DPL, and it's just a little throwdown box. It has its own power supply. We had to do a different power supply for this altogether because this is using a lot of juice, and the original one that comes with the Arcadia wasn't big enough. Apologies for that. But this guy would then connect into the Ethernet connection of your switch anywhere in your facility that gets to the main LAN port of this, and then from there you take XLR and you go into the Powerline XLR on the bottom. Depending on whether you're using just belt packs or a combination of this with the HKB, will depend on how many you can put on it. The HKB, for example, that desktop version, it uses more power, and I think you can only do 4 or 5 of those on one of these, whereas you could do around 8 to 10 of these on one device. The good news is you could take this and you can put multiple HX2 DPLs on a network. So if you want, you could throw one up in the catwalk for the follow spot, maybe another one down below for the main lighting guy and whatever else, and then you're off and running.
You had to do this because there's such an install base. The HelixNet was a very successful product, and a lot of people invested in Powerline deployments. So to move to this as the main station replacement, it needed to be able to support the Powerline with 60 volts.
All right, that's it for Arcadia for the moment. Any questions?
Which LAN does this device need to be connected to pass HelixNet?
So it needs to be, you could pick any LAN port you want. It just needs, and you'll see it on there, it's admin. So HelixNet and admin are tied together.
Got it.
After that, the only other options at the moment would be AS67 and Dante. So you just need to, you decide. It could be the SFP on LAN 4. It's up to you. Okay. So let's talk about the latest and greatest product that we have released, and that's Gen IC and Skyport. Again, nobody here has heard of this. I'm surprised. So what is Gen IC? In the most basic way, it is us bridging intercom systems together and also tying in virtual clients. And a virtual client, again, is Agent IC or Station IC, iPhone, Android, PC, Mac. That's a virtual client for us. So let's talk about why we built this. So if we step back to the current workflow, or the workflow before Gen IC came about, consider this to be Omega Broadcasting. Usually I like to stand next to the monitor so I can point, but so I wonder if my laser pointer will work. No, it's too white. So, router over here with the firewall. That's here at Omega. It's in the back room. You've got the public internet that is connecting a panel, LQ, Agent IC, Station IC, that has to get back to this LQ down here. And that LQ then is connected to this Arcadia. You with me so far? I think, let's zoom in here. I think I've got, yep, I thought I did. I updated this drawing. All right, so how does this work? So these guys at Omega Broadcasting, they have to go talk to their IT department. Who here loves talking to their IT department? So, because he has to go talk to his IT department, which is going to take about a month to get this figured out, he says, hey, Mr. IT guy, I need a static external IP address for this building so I can connect my Agent IC app. And they go, okay, yeah, I've got a couple of them set up. In fact, I've got some at home that I pay AT&T for. I think I pay like an extra $90 a month for 4 static IPs. Well, what's a static IP, you might ask? A static external IP is literally a dedicated IP address for your building or your modem right here at that building. And anywhere in the world, if you type in that IP address, it only goes here. So for today's demo, we're going to say the static IP for Omega Broadcasting is 86.86.86.11. So that IP address out in the world, if you ping it, will automatically, I don't care if you're in Russia, if you try to go to that IP address, it will come to this building. Here's what's really fascinating. Because the internet was technically started in the United States, I think we have about 75% of all static external IPs in the world. So that is one benefit of being an American at the moment, is you have a lot of control over that. And it's cheap. You go to Brazil, you go to Italy, it doesn't matter. They are paying an arm and a leg for just one static external IP. And it's a beast just to get one from the internet service provider, because Italy may only have 20 for the entire country, whereas the US has hundreds, if not thousands of them. So it's really awesome that we have all these static external IPs. Yay, America. Well, guess what? Omega Broadcasting has that static external of 86.86.86.11. So he goes to his IT guy, he goes, hey, can you take that IP address and get it so the traffic goes through the firewall to my LQ that's down here? Well, very small, you can barely see it. That LQ has an IP address of 192.168.5.6. That's one that we all recognize, right? You go home, usually it's a 192.168 IP. So he has to go to his IT department, and he's sitting there looking at his camera right now going, no, I'm not doing that because it's a pain. Yeah, he is shaking his head. And he says, hey, I need Agent IC to go to that static external, port 6004, and I need it to port forward through our firewall to this internal IP. Well, once IT finishes dragging their feet, they say, all right, fine. I've updated the firewall rules. As soon as Agent IC does its thing, it will then port forward from 86.86.86.11, port 6004, down to 192.168.5.6, port 6001. I know it's a lot of numbers and probably means little to nothing to you, but the long story short, this is the pain in the butt that we're all dealing with. So Agent IC says, I need to get here. It goes through the entire internet. The internet knows where that 86 address is. It finally gets to the router, gets to the firewall. The LQ goes, well, what's your username and password? Once Agent IC says, here's what my username and password is, LQ confirms it, and then you're finally in and you're in business. Now, that's a lot of work. The good news is that once that all is set up at the firewall level, you're done. You can move on because it's a very quick connection once you hit play on Agent IC. Here's the issue though. There have been a lot of high-profile attacks. Iran, China, Russia especially, they're coming after us in so many ways. And so they're looking for easy targets. And they don't care if you're a bank or Omega Broadcasting. They just like to hack into stuff. And so they're going and they're finding these external IPs because there's only a finite amount of them. It's easy to find them. You just type in the numbers and you see what is open to the internet. And they realize, hey, oh, you have a port that is open on your firewall. Well, a port opened on your firewall is no different than you keeping your window unlocked and somebody breaking into your house. So the IT department is, that's it. No more port forwards, no more opening firewalls. You can get to and from the internet all you want, but we're not letting traffic come in that way. You're done. So more and more we see broadcasters especially, what was it, which broadcaster starts with an N? One of the broadcasters, they own like 200 TV stations. Sorry? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. They got hacked into. And these hackers literally went in and took many of the TV stations off the air because they had their master control connected to the internet in some way, shape, or form. And so they were literally putting up crawls that a zombie apocalypse was happening. So, guess what? That TV station, that whole group, Nexstar, that's what it was, I believe. They got hacked. And so they're shutting down the ports. Well, that creates a problem for Agent IC and the news broadcast. So moving on, that's where Gen IC is something that fixes the problem for you. It is us in the cloud, more specifically the Google infrastructure, which is a very, very secure infrastructure, hosting the LQ interface in the cloud. And so when Agent IC connects to us, it's going through their infrastructure, their security. You here at Omega Broadcast, as an example, rather than them having that port forwarding open on the firewall, they just point their LQ to the internet and they're done. And the firewall is now completely secure. No, the window is not open. All right, that was a lot to digest. Any questions on that so far?
So is the old method even in practice anymore? With port forwarding?
It is. Some companies think, it's good enough. So, well, this is one way around it. That's the key here. And by the way, setting up those port forwards, it's not fun. It's not easy. And IT guys, again, they're going to push back hard. What was I going to say? Yeah, just in general, this just makes it easier for you.
So a question about the Google part of it. You need a Google Enterprise account in
Nope.
order to get this.
As far as you're concerned, it's a clear-cut product through and through. It's just sitting on Google's servers. And the reason we picked them is because the price was right to make sure we're not gouging you, because we have to pay for that service on a monthly basis. The other reason is they have really good security. Generally speaking, I don't think I've heard of Google getting hacked and their systems going down, generally speaking. Sometimes Gmail might hiccup, but it's not been bad. Plus, Google's everywhere in the world. So what I'm going to show you later is we actually have servers in the East Coast, the West Coast, Singapore, Japan, Germany, the United Kingdom. So you can actually, if you have a show that's on the East Coast one week, but then you're on the West Coast the next, you just go in, you stop, move to the West Coast. Because you want that turnaround time for your comms to be as short as possible. Now today we're going to use the East Coast server from Austin, and I think the East Coast server is in North Carolina. From Austin, North Carolina and back over cellular, it's less than a quarter of a second. So we're just talking about minuscule changes to your latency. But that's why we also have it in Asia Pacific region. I think we have one in Brazil. Yeah.
Is the Gen IC a subscription service?
Yes, it is a subscription. So it is not something that you own and you pay us a monthly or yearly fee for. And that's so that we can continue to support it and pay Google to keep the servers running, basically.
that available on a weekly or per event basis?
Only monthly or yearly, not weekly. So just charge accordingly for that 1 week event. Any other questions before we get any further here? Well, here's a quick look at what it looks like. Oh, yep.
Would the rental house be taking care of that, or would the end user client be taking care of that?
It could be a combination.
Okay.
And so I'll show you a little bit once we log in how that works. There's multiple user levels. There's the guy. So let's say you were like, hey, you're not a direct buyer from Clearcom. Because by the way, we're not going direct to the consumer. That's an important note that you should understand. We are still going through the Omegas of the world. Reason being is we feel strongly that we need to continue to back our partners, because if we start doing virtual intercom and bump them out of the way, then they're not selling Clearcom anymore. And I wouldn't blame them. They're not making money. So we continue to go through our partners like Omega so that they put the credit card in, they charge you
Just a cash fee.
just a cash fee. It could be a PO that you submit to them. They put their credit card in. And the cool thing is Omega can have an instance for every customer they have, but you only get to see your instance. You don't get to see the other customers. So there's a lot of managed user levels. So there's multiple levels of user access. And then if you look at this, what does that look like? Looks like a FreeSpeak 2 or LQ CCM, the web GUI. It's pretty much, again, the LQ in the cloud. Any questions, comments, concerns?
So Genesys subscriptions only through dealer channel?
Yes.
Is there a demo of it?
Yes, you can actually do just standard virtual client as a demo. I mean, you could use Agent IC as well.